William Wallace is one of the most famous figures in Scottish history, known he caused many problems for King Edward I of England and won several battles against the English army in Scotland. Wallace was seen as a hero and became the guardian of Scotland, but he was eventually captured by the English. King Edward I had Wallace executed in a brutal way. William Wallace was born around 1270, but not much is known about his early life. His father was likely a Scottish landowner, but his parents' identities are uncertain. During his early years, King Alexander III ruled Scotland, and the country was peaceful and stable. However, after Alexander's death in 1286, the throne passed to his granddaughter, Margaret, who was living in Norway. This caused problems because there was no clear successor, and Scotland was heading towards civil war. During this time, several Scottish nobles, including Robert the Bruce, tried to claim the throne. The instability in Scotland grew, leading to the invitation of Edward IV of England to help decide who should be king. Edward chose John Balliol, who became king but was heavily influenced and controlled by Edward. Balliol's rule was weak, and he was often seen as a puppet of the English king. Edward thus saw Scotland as a country that could be easily controlled and integrated into his realm. The Scots were unhappy with English control and their king. Edward I forced the Scottish nobles to pay homage to him, further increasing tensions. This led to widespread resentment and eventually rebellion. In this turbulent environment, William Wallace emerged as a key figure in the resistance against English rule. Wallace first made a name for himself by killing the English Sheriff of Lanark in May 1297. This act of defiance inspired many Scots to join the fight against the English. Wallace then joined forces with other Scottish leaders, including Andrew Murray, and began attacking English settlements and strongholds. His strategy focused on guerrilla tactics, using his knowledge of the local terrain to his advantage. Despite being outnumbered, Wallace's army won a significant victory at the Battle of Stirling Bridge on September 11th, 1297, alongside Andrew Murray. The English forces, led by John de Warenne and Hugh de Cressingham, were defeated when Wallace and Murray used the narrow bridge to their advantage, trapping and decimating the English troops as they crossed. This success made Wallace a hero, and he was later knighted and appointed Guardian of Scotland. Wallace's success angered King Edward I, who launched a second invasion of Scotland in April 1298. Edward assembled a large army, determined to crush the Scottish resistance once and for all. The two forces met at the Battle of Falkirk on July 22, 1298. Despite Wallace's best efforts, the Scottish army was defeated. Edward's forces used longbowmen to devastating effect, breaking the Scottish formations and allowing the English cavalry to rout the Scots. Wallace managed to escape the battle but resigned as Guardian of Scotland, his reputation severely damaged. He went into hiding, and it is believed he may have travelled to France to seek support from King Philip IV, or even to Rome to appeal to the Pope for help. However, by 1304, Wallace was back in Scotland, continuing his resistance against English rule. Wallace was now a wanted man, with a large bounty on his head. On August 5, 1305, he was betrayed by a Scottish knight loyal to the English, Sir John de Menteith. Once captured, Wallace was transported to London, a deliberate act designed to both humiliate him and make a public example out of him to dissuade others from rebelling against English rule. This journey itself was arduous and would have been incredibly humiliating for Wallace. Upon arriving in London, Wallace was taken to Westminster Hall, the Grand Hall of the Palace of Westminster, which was a site for significant legal and governmental proceedings. The hall was filled with English officials, noblemen, and commoners who had come to witness the trial of the man who had become a symbol of Scottish resistance. The trial of William Wallace was, in reality, more of a formality than a genuine legal proceeding. Wallace was charged with high treason, despite his assertion that he could not be a traitor, as he had never sworn allegiance to Edward I. His response to the charge was poignant. "I cannot be a traitor to Edward, for I was never his subject." Wallace's defence was based on the fact that he considered himself a patriot, fighting for the freedom of his homeland, rather than a subject of the English king. In addition to treason, Wallace was accused of a litany of other crimes, including murder, arson, and robbery, all acts committed during his campaigns against the English. Despite these charges, Wallace was given no real opportunity to defend himself. The trial was essentially a show, designed to publicly denounce and humiliate him before carrying out the preordained sentence. William Wallace was found guilty on all charges. The sentence was the most severe punishment available. He was to be hanged, drawn, and quartered, a brutal method reserved for those convicted of treason. The sentence was intended not just to kill, but to degrade and terrorize, serving as a stark warning to any who might consider defying English rule. On August 23, 1305, Wallace was taken from the Tower of London to Smithfield, a site commonly used for public executions. This process, known as drawing, was excruciatingly painful, as his head was severed and dipped in tar to preserve it, and it was then placed on a pike atop London Bridge, a prominent location where it would serve as a stark warning to all who passed by. The quarters of Wallace's body were sent to different parts of England and Scotland: Berwick, Newcastle, Perth, and Stirling. Each piece was publicly displayed to reinforce the message that rebellion against the English crown would be met with the harshest and most brutal consequences. These displays were meant to instill fear and discourage others from following in Wallace's footsteps. Despite the brutality of his execution, Wallace's legacy was not one of fear and submission. Instead, he became a martyr and a symbol of Scottish resistance and independence. His defiance and courage in the face of such a gruesome death inspired future generations to continue the fight for Scotland's freedom. The film BraveHeart immortalized his story, albeit with many historical inaccuracies, and brought his tale to a global audience. In conclusion, the trial and execution of William Wallace were designed to be a public spectacle of humiliation and terror. The English crown sought to crush Scottish resistance by making an example of Wallace, but instead they created a lasting symbol of bravery and the enduring fight for independence. Wallace's story remains a powerful reminder of the human spirit's resilience and the quest for freedom.